So what I'm attempting to make is a meat pie. Just something that's simple and quick. People make theirs a certain way, I don't. Everyone is different. Yeah, exactly. Everyone is different for sure. So I added thyme and clove, sage, and some mustard, just to get that nice flavoring that stews have. And when I'm done doing this, I will be doing up some onions to fry in that same pan. Yeah, for vegetables, this is usually all I use. It's pretty quick and simple. It's pre-cooked, and it looks gorgeous in the meat pie as well. So. Now this is something my mom used to make, so I'm just copying what she used to do. So my mom was Elder Kathy Archer, and she's got a lot of recipes online just because a lot of people just love her Mi'kmaq cooking. And so really I'm just mimicking what she used to do. She used to call this a poor man's meal because it was cheap. And she had a lot of kids, so we used to feed a lot of us. Well, that's cooking real quick. I need to wash my board. Always important that when you're chopping meat that you keep your area clean and options. So they usually call for about a half onion, but I'll see how I do here first. Pretty good size onions, so. So I know I do my meat pie different. How do you do yours? Be interesting to see some of the comments or inboxes. So I'm not sure how you're going to watch this. So what I do for the shells, I'll show you. I just buy the pre-made shells. The ones that you just have to thaw for a little bit, and they come in like a package of 2. So I use one for the top, one for the bottom. And it's just so much easier that way. They're very inexpensive. And I just like go up to the independent grocer behind me, and they always have these pie shells in stock. So that's what I use. Or these are amazingly cheap as well. So I do use the Pillsbury. They're really easy to thaw out, easy to shape on your own, like pie plates. I usually only use Pillsbury when I'm doing the individual pies. Like if I wanted to make a bunch of pies and just freeze them for a later date, then that's usually the dough that I use. Careful.
Here comes the sad part.
Yeah, be careful not to cut your fingers. Onions don't bother me. No, I don't start crying or weeping or usually anyway. So as you can see, I don't like mince them or anything because you don't want them to get absorbed in the gravy. So I usually leave them a little bigger. As you can see, this meat is done.
How much meat is it?
I usually use about 2 of these, and I'll show you the tag. I don't know if you can see that. So I usually use about 2 of them, and that's being very generous too. Like, you don't need 2. 1 is certainly plenty, but I'm just being generous with my meat. So I'm going to put my meat in here, just because I'll be making gravy here shortly. And because I have already added seasoning, I don't have to add any more. But I do need a little bit of butter. So when you're making a gravy for your meat pie, of course, like, you want the gravy to be thick. So what I usually do is I use flour and water for mine, and I make a desired thickness. So, you know, I know a lot of people don't do that, but I actually do. So now we'll concentrate on the potatoes. So what we're going to do with the potatoes is we're going to dice them into very fine cubes. Because as they go in the pie is going to set in the oven for about 45 minutes to an hour. So you want to make them small enough to where they're actually cooking in the gravy. I find this meal ideal if there's a lot of people in your house, because like when you're making a pie, it's so much easier to throw a bunch together, fry it together, and be able to throw, you know, 2 and 3 pies together at the same time. So if you have a lot of kids, this is an ideal recipe. So I'm going to save that because that's going to be my gravy. don't have to use all of this. I usually don't. I will. So I'll mix this all together. And it does, like as it softens, you'll see a lot of these break and it just looks beautiful together. So you're basically hitting all your food groups that you need. Although, you know, potatoes probably isn't that great for you with the starch. I'm using 2 potatoes today, but I mean, feel free to use as many potatoes as you like, whatever you feel comfortable with. I'm thirsty. Trying to get my voice back a little bit. So what we're going to do is we're going to cube these down. And we're going to add them to that mix there in that pot. Did you make these at all, Jules?
I haven't. I'm so excited to actually learn how.
The very first pie I think I've learned to make, ironically, was a Weight Watchers pie. And my mom was like, I don't understand why you're making a pie like that and it's so expensive. She says when you could pick this, and this up and it has less calories. I'm not a calorie watcher, I'm not. So, you know, her teaching me this recipe, ironically, she was right. It was less calories. If I'm not mistaken, I think you're looking at maybe 500-600 calories in that pie per serving. So
That's all good food.
when my mom cooked, she was all about steaming or broiling her meat. She wasn't, or baking her meat, broiling or baking. She wasn't a huge fan of frying. I mean, she did sometimes, but she was more into the healthier kind of cooking. She was definitely a meat and potatoes kind of girl every night, and that's what we used to have for supper, was meat and potatoes and veggies, and because that's what her parents used to feed her. A lot of rabbits too, eel, just any of the animals that you can trap here, fish. But I mean, they used to trade their goods as well on the mainland for. They used to trade their baskets and whatnot for, you know, caribou and bear or deer meat. Or so as you can see there, that's like completely plenty of potatoes. It just kind of matches what's in there. See, I tend to make a lot of meat because my son loves meat. If you're going to use a bigger cup like this, about 4 tablespoons. But you'll see why I mean that. Because I imagine I'll be doing a couple of these. But as you're putting it into here, you just got to keep stirring it. You'll notice the color. Now you can make up to 2 cups, but 2 cups isn't going to go in your pie. That would just, I think, make it too soggy. So more than likely there'll be gravy left over. A lot of people use cornstarch too. I'm just not one of those people. Flour works for me. So you can see the consistency already. It's thickening right up. What I'm going to do is just keep stirring it. So sometimes if it gets too thick, which can happen, don't panic, because you can add water to it off the stove. So as you can see, it's pretty thick, so what I'll do is I'll just add more water. But I'd rather have it too thick and be able to fix it than... Here we go. Then what we're going to do is add it. See, I still even think it's too thick. So what we're going to do once we're finished, getting this at the right consistency, is we're going to add it to our mix there. And then we'll put it in our pie. Put it in the oven at 350 for about 45 minutes to an hour. And ta-da, you made it.
How will you know when it's done?
It's golden brown on top. You have to think most of this is pre-cooked. The only thing that's really not cooked in there is the potatoes. When you're making potatoes on the stove, usually takes about 30 minutes maybe. So because it's covered and everything and is cooking more by steam, and I usually give it 15-20 minutes more, and then you're guaranteed that your potatoes are soft enough. And see, there's my consistency here. What I'm going to do is add it to this. So you get your beef flavoring and everything in this gravy, because I had used the meat that I had fried in here. And what you can do too, as well, and I'll do it doesn't matter to me, is I like adding a little bit of this to it. If anything, just for flavor. See, I find it's very similar to stew. And then you just put it in your shells. That's simple.
Oh, that's so good.
Now I'll get my shell ready. Better. See, it doesn't take much to fill up one pie at all. So I know already I'll have enough to fill up 2 pies. Make sure that we get enough meat in here. And again, don't be afraid to use this. You can add just a little bit. It gives that little bit of a taste in your crust. So then you're going to take your top crust and you're just going to put it on. But when you're... Oh great, I'm probably wrecking it, am I? When you're putting on your pie crust, and just make sure you're slitting holes to vent it. So that's what I'll do here. Hold up one sec. Since it just wants to stick.
It's all about the problem solving.
It is. And you can make your own pie crust too. It doesn't have to be store-bought. Whatever works for you. I have a roller somewhere. I've eaten this so many times with rabbit, and I know all you animal lovers think that's cruel, but I mean this was our survival, so you know it wasn't something you could send back to the kitchen and or write a letter to PETA about, because this was a way of life for indigenous people. Especially here on the island in the wintertime, there wasn't a whole lot of options for us. So, we had to definitely make do with what we could trap, or, what we didn't have freezers. Here we go. So what we're gonna do is just cover it. Doesn't have to be perfect, it's just a pie. So what you want to do is close it, here. Even when I make like apple pies or whatever, I find my, I'm not the greatest when it comes to my shells. That's okay.
It will still taste absolutely amazing.
Dinner is dinner.
Yeah.
See, like I said, we still have enough for another pie. There we go. Also, you want to slit it. So that'll help your pie breathe and cook better. Sorry for the presentation, Jewel.
Oh, it looks beautiful. It's gonna be so good.
And that's one pie. And I'll chuck together. So this will, like I said, $3.50. Oh my God, you should have seen our kitchen when Mom used to make bannock, or she used to be covered in flour. It's really funny. What are the chances? Let's see if we can make this prettier. So again, what you're going to want to do is you're going to want to vent it. And what I usually do with the outside is just go ahead and do this. So it pinches it together. Oh, I confused. So all you're going to do is just make these. And ta-da, you're done. There are your pies. Pretty quick and simple. Onion. There we go. Pretty quick and simple, and now it doesn't, like I said, it doesn't have to be perfect because you're going to eat it in an hour. So $3.50, 45 minutes to an hour. Thanks for joining me.